Craig, can we turn that one off, please? That one. Cheers. I don't really need to introduce this band, alright? Titanic, Hornblower, Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic. Please welcome Ioan Gruffyd. Hello. Hello. Can we hear? Can you hear it now? Is that alright? Okay, I'm going to get this out of the way, nice and early. Jessica Alba.
It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
Now, obviously, I've got the phone number now. Thank you very much for that. I will stalk her now. First of all, welcome to Dubai. I know you've just got off a plane. It's so grateful that you're here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been overwhelming. Everybody's been so nice and so generous and so enthusiastic. I'm thrilled to be here.
And what these guys don't know is that your schedule's changed and you're actually filming on Monday, is it?
Yes, I have to go back on Monday.
So you have just basically got on a plane, flown all the way here. You're here for 1.5 days, and you're flying all the way back.
I am.
That's dedication, guys. I'll tell you now, a lot of people would have cancelled. But he didn't want to, he wanted to come, he wanted to meet you. It's brilliant. And I thank you so much. Okay, now, what's it like to be the leader of a superhero team before the Avengers?
Well, yes, I'd certainly love to be part of the Avengers now. I mean, it's such an incredible franchise and such a great success. But I was very, very proud. I kind of entered into it a bit naively because I didn't realise how much of a following that the comic themselves had, and of course the movies. I was such a fan of XMen when that came out. I didn't quite believe the response globally. So when I played Mr. Fantastic, I was slightly sort of ignorant almost to the fact that this whole world existed. So when I saw the movie and then saw the response, I was completely overwhelmed.
I mean, it's one of those kind of movies. It's a shame it didn't go on for the third one. I would have, because obviously the Fantastic Four had Spider-Man in as well, and Silver Surfer had just come in. So, was it talk was the third one after the second? It was a big success.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a huge success globally. So it was a big disappointment to hear. The latest rumour is that they're going to reboot the whole franchise with younger actors and try to rekindle it and make more movies that way. I guess it's the business model now for the big studios. So.
And of course you were stuck with Chris Evans, who's now Captain America.
I know, that's pretty extraordinary, isn't it, to play two comic book heroes in such a short space of time. But he's such a wonderful actor, and I think he's physically transformed from playing Johnny Storm to Captain America. It's pretty impressive.
Now of course you were in another film, that's a slightly small independent film. What's it called? Titanic?
Yes.
Titanic, a little film. Has anyone heard of that film? What was it like working with James Cameron?
Now that was a baptism of fire. It was my first ever film. I had maybe done one day of a film in the UK, and then I was on a plane out to Rosarito in Mexico. It was my first time in America, and then first time flying down to Mexico. And onto the set of Titanic. You could literally see the ship as you were driving down the coastline of Mexico. You could see the ship as if it were moored there, and then I knew I was onto something special. The script was amazing. The cast that he had amassed was pretty impressive, and I was just a wide-eyed 21-year-old at the time. I just couldn't believe my luck. And but what was interesting, I think we all knew that we were onto something really special, but I don't think we all believed how big it could have been, because at the time, the budget was overrunning. That's all you heard, was that the movie was being run away with. But such is the talent and ability of James Cameron, and he managed to do it again 10 years later with Avatar. So we knew when we were working on it that we were working on something really special.
Right, so the phone rings. It can be any director offering you a part in their film. Which director would you love to work with?
I think Christopher Nolan. Just because of his grasp of the world of fantasy and reality, and making us believe that these characters exist and these places exist. I think what he did with the Inception is pretty extraordinary. And with Batman as well, I mean, to make us really think that this was a place that existed and that we could almost go there, even though we knew that we were watching something that was completely fantasy. But, I'd love to work with him, and also I think Martin Scorsese as well. I think that would be somebody on the other end of the spectrum. So
I mean, the thing is now, comic book movies are taken so seriously. Before, I think they were just as entertaining. Now you've got actors like, you had Edward Norton, you've got Robert Downey Jr., you've got Sam Jackson in every comic book movie they've ever known, you know. It's like, you know, and again, with the X-Men, we started off with Singer, I think, in the X-Men, and then you've got, obviously, you guys in the Fantastic Four. You've assembled a really good cast of people that can act. And I think they really sell the comic book movies.
Oh, absolutely, because you've got to, as an actor, fall in love with your character that you're representing. And for them to have cast these amazing people in these parts, I think elevates the whole thing even further. Because we all create images for these people. When we read the comic books, or read a novel, or read a book, we all create these images so clearly in our mind's eye that they are three-dimensional, real people to us. So they need to be represented as such, as an actor, and that's our duty as actors, is to make these people completely believable. And when you've got somebody like Robert Downey, who's just an immense talent, there's no wonder the franchise is such a huge success.
So, you get cast as Mr. Fantastic. Did you already have like a knowledge of the comics and that? Or because these guys, if you get it wrong, they're unforgiving. Yeah? So you must have felt the pressure of, you've got to get this right.
What was it amazing? I remember we were introduced at the San Diego Comic Convention as the Fantastic Four, before we even shot a frame of the movie. And there was a bit of a silence when I was introduced, and when I started talking, because here I was, a Welshman, a British actor representing such an American icon. The fans were really sort of sceptical, I felt. Everybody knew Jessica and how gorgeous she looks and everything. But when I started to speak, everybody was like, oh my goodness, is this guy going to be able to bring this character to life? So I knew then that I had a big responsibility on my shoulders, and I just relished the challenge, and I think I pulled it off.
Did you pull it off? I believe. Now, obviously, in all the conventions, we would have loved to have Stan Lee here. Was he your mailman?
Stan Lee was our mailman, and Stan Lee in the first movie got thrown out of the wedding. He was a wedding crasher. Yes, he was. He sort of showed up and they didn't have a ticket, and he got thrown out. But he was incredible. I think he's in his 80s now. But is he 90s now? So when I met him, I guess he was in his 80s, and he was sharp as a tack and just so articulate and passionate and full of energy, and there's no wonder that he created this incredible world.
Did you ask him about the character at all, or have you already gone through, decided how it's going to go, you've checked the comics, you're happy with what you're doing, and you're just going?
Well, by the time I came to the comic books, and they've been around for 40 years, and they've gone through so many different machinations, and I loved the original. I think there was something innocent and delightful about the original. I read the first 2 or 3 years just to get a vibe of it, and I think because it was written in the 60s, there's some kind of innocence about them, and a real. I think that's why our movie was such a success. It was more of a family movie. It found its sort of audience in that sense, because there was more of an innocence to them compared to the X-Men, which had a little bit more violence, I think.
All right. Oh, we've already got Q. Hello, Q. How you doing? You all right? So I'll ask one more question, and you can start talking. What's next for you? Can you talk about it as well?
Well, I've got a movie coming out this summer called Mariah Mundy. It's based on a G.P. Taylor novel. It's a kid's fantasy, in the same vein as Harry Potter, but it won't have the same sort of scope with the CGI and the budget, I guess. But I'm playing Mariah's father in that, So that could possibly turn into a little franchise. I'm doing a guest spot at the moment on a show called Castle, which is one of the big characters from this world, Nathan Fillion, so I had a great week with him. Yes, yeah, Malcolm, of course. So, and there's a few irons in the fire, but nothing concrete, but watch this space.